So, Pokemon Legends Z through A is supposed to be coming out on the 16th, which is tomorrow. And based off what I've seen and the feedback that the game had gotten, it's actually a pretty good game. It's something that I feel longtime fans of the Pokemon series will enjoy, especially considering the fact that it includes, classic Pokemon. Like at the start of the game, you have like three starter Pokemon like Chikorita, Totodile, and T-Pig. Two of them were in gold and silver, and I believe T-Pig was in black and white. And they made some modifications to the gameplay, like with the whole strategic cooldown that take place in, I guess, in the battles, because it's supposed to add more realism, similar to what you see on the television series. Like when, I guess, when one Pokemon attacks, there's like some time in between, and I guess they have to kind of like regain their stamina and health before they attack again. So I think that's something that can definitely like add more depth to the gameplay itself. And you also have like real time combat, and I think that's something that's going to force players to think more strategically in general. And um and the fact that they brought back other like features such as mega evolution, something that first appeared in Pokemon X and Y. And there's also like other things like a day night cycle, along with the fact that the game is set in an urban environment like Lumoy City. I believe that's the name of the place. And pretty much like I feel like the game itself could have had better aesthetics, but at the same time, I feel like this is something that's going to do really well on a commercial level because of the fact that we've been hearing about this game for over a year. I think the first video game trailer for Pokemon Legends C3A appeared back in early 2024, if I'm not mistaken. But but the thing is, you also got to remember that right now, Nintendo has been getting criticized a lot. They've been receiving backlash from the online gaming community, especially with like their war on piracy, along with the fact that they had sued the creators of Power World because they felt like Pocket Pair was infringing on their IPs and violating their copyright and all that stuff in relation to the Pokemon franchise, because everybody has their own respective opinion on Power World. On one hand, the creatures look a lot like Pokemon. They look very similar to Pokemon, but they're not. It's basically just like Pokemon with guns. Even the whole idea of capturing monsters with balls and stuff like that is something that's present in Power World. But the thing is, a lot of people love that game, and the fact that Nintendo is seemingly like being petty about that is something that a lot of people feel might come back to bite them when this game comes out. And the thing is, like, some people feel like the Switch 2 is like expensive enough as it is. Not everyone's going to buy a Switch 2, but at the same time, having a Switch 2 is probably more affordable than buying a PlayStation 5. But at the same time, do I expect Pokemon Legends Z through A to surpass like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet or Sword and Shield? I have no idea, because like years ago, like Nintendo didn't have as much heat on them as they do right now. And I feel like, the backlash that they've been receiving for over the past like year or two is something that could eventually like hinder the sales of their games. And I'm not just talking about Pokemon Legends Z through A. I'm talking about Metroid Prime 4 and any other like Mario or Zelda game that they have coming out later down the line. But yeah, I mean, I can see Pokemon Legends Z through A doing at least 10 mil in terms of sales. Um, as far as lifetime sales is concerned, I have no idea. Um, I'm not exactly sure how long the Switch 2 is going to be out for, but at the same time, it's supposed to be on the Switch 2 and the original Switch console. So a lot of people have like Switches, so I'm pretty sure it's something that parents will easily be able to buy for their kids. But I mean, is Pokemon as popular now as it was like when it first started? Probably not. But at the same time, I don't think it's completely irrelevant either. In fact, it seemed like a lot of people talk more about like the cards than they do about the games themselves. It's like you have a game that comes out, like whether it's Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet. It comes out, it's a big thing. People talk about it, kids play it, and then you don't really hear much about it afterwards. I remember back in the day with the original generations of Pokemon, like one, two. I'd probably say like from generations 1 to 5, like Pokemon was massive. It was big. It was a part of pop culture for the most part. It was something that dominated the 2000s, and for the most part, it was a part of mainstream media. But like it's something that you don't hear too much about nowadays, but at the same time it's a household name, so whenever someone mentions Pokemon, people know what it is even though they've never played it before. So I still feel like Pokemon as a franchise is still really big. I do feel that moving away from Ash Ketchum and Pikachu, who's those two characters, like pretty much they were pretty much the face of the Pokemon franchise. Moving away from those two, I feel like in some ways kind of contributed to the decline in popularity from Pokemon compared to what it used to be. But at the same time, I still feel like the games are worth getting because kids still like it. Casuals still talk about it. And I do feel like the games still do pretty well in terms of sales. And I feel like that's going to continue to be the case going forward. But I don't know. I mean, it's quite possible that this whole thing with Pocket Pair and Pal World could end up hurting, the sales of Pokemon Legends C3A. But then again, it probably won't because this is a game that it most likely caters to children and casuals and all of that. I don't think, adult gamers or people in their 30s or 40s really give a damn about Pokemon anymore. They care more about like the older stuff from the 90s and the 2000s and even the early teens for that matter. So, yeah, I mean, I can see Pokemon Legends C3A probably being one of the best selling Switch 2 games that we see in 2025.